Impact of Immigration on the United States by Brandy Childs. I have chosen to use an interdisciplinary approach to better understand the complex issue of the impact of immigration on the United States. As we have seen throughout the history of our nation, immigration has always been a very complex topic. This topic has caused many arguments within our government and United States citizens. Like many complex issues, immigration does not only affect one aspect of our nation, but affects it in various ways. Therefore, it causes many to debate over the issue. Is it possible to come up with a solution to the problem that will make the most sense and be a viable option that everyone can be satisfied with? Immigration is a complex issue that affects many households, government, and our nation. In an effort to tackle such a complex issue, it is imperative to look at the problem through several lenses. I will be addressing the issue utilizing research from the disciplines of economics and sociology. I've included an immigration map just to kind of show the subtopics under sociology and as well as economics. And as you can see from all the various lines that are on this map, these topics all kind of correlate together in one way or another. They may be affected by each other, or they just may be intertwined in various ways. The economic perspective. There are many misconceptions on how immigration affects the United States. Major policies towards immigration have not changed since the Immigration Act of 1990. Mixed feelings and insight regarding immigration are scattered due to the effects that immigration has had on that individual and their knowledge of the complex topic of immigration. While unauthorized immigrants work for less wages than natives, it opens the opportunities for natives to fulfill higher positions. Due to less skilled immigrants willing to work for bare minimum, offering services such as childcare, it credits opportunities for natives to hold positions they once were unable to. Sociology. The discipline of sociology provides a deeper look at how immigration has affected attitudes surrounding the topic as well as the social structure. While analyzing the effects of immigration in a sociological aspect, it is often found that the researchers or American families that are participating in the research are either immigrants themselves or someone in their ancestry is an immigrant. Diversity in our nation is the foundation of what the United States of America stands for. Many feel that the diversity that is brought with immigration is ever so changing the ways of the American society. But do you think that's necessarily a terrible thing? I think that, just in my own personal opinion, I feel like immigration is not a terrible thing. I feel like diversity is a positive thing, especially for us and our children and their children, future generations. I feel like that we are able to learn a lot of beneficial information from one another. Interdisciplinary research economy. Depending on how knowledgeable you are regarding the economy will have a factor on how you feel about immigration. Economists are skilled to be able to see while immigrants may work for lower wages, they also bring in more revenue. Immigrants are thought to be an economic burden because they disproportionately receive public benefits such as health care, schooling, and welfare without paying their fair share of taxes. These claims, however, are not supported by empirical evidence. In many of the surveys that have been conducted, it has shown that at least half of top 50 venture capital funded companies have at least one immigrant founder, and the majority of the topic management or research positions are held by immigrants. Interdisciplinary research sociology. The perspective of sociology stated in terms of an overarching question about immigration is, can immigrants properly assimilate in the United States? Sociology approaches this problem attempting to find out how immigrants are assimilating, if natives are receptive to immigration, and the natives' fears of how immigration affects the American culture. The new immigration and ethnicity in the United States addresses how the demographic of the anti-immigrant reactions amongst non-Latino whites have a real fear of cultural change, and that European Americans will lose their dominant position to new immigrants. There is a straight line model of assimilation which predicts that new immigrants will affect the fabric of American life while being affected by it simultaneously. These are some findings that I was just able to find, and they kind of stood out to me while I was conducting my research. While there are many conflicts between sources and insights, I believe that it has a lot to do with the perspective of the individual that is writing the source. I'm not quite sure what Hirschman, and you might wonder who Hirschman is, but he is the author of one of the journals that I read regarding immigration and economics. So his definition of most is, what if 40% of Americans believe that immigration needs to be decreased? Then that tells me that most Americans are not acknowledging the positive benefits of immigration. As we have discovered with any complex issue, the perspective of the researcher, or which disciplinary lens they are looking through, will play a large factor in their findings regarding immigration. Since immigration affects all of us in one way or another, it is imperative that the decision on how to best handle immigration be thought out thoroughly and based more on data versus opinion. In conclusion, when conducting research of a complex topic, you will often find conflicting studies and statistics. As you can see throughout the literature reviews that were studied, there is a natural bias that occurs. Prior to conducting the research necessary to complete this assignment, I did not understand all the complexities that were involved with the topic of immigration. Like many others, I did not see all of the economic benefits that immigration has on our society. It is not always what things seem to be, but what they actually are. As you can see, taking an interdisciplinary approach not only influenced my perception from the knowledge that I gained from the disciplinary perspectives within the sources that I found, but it provided me with a greater insight into the topic. Like many of you, I believe that we all have questioned, possibly debated, just our opinion or our perspective of how we feel like the United States is impacted by immigration. And just throughout all of my research, like I said, in this PowerPoint, I was able to see that there was a lot more, like a greater perspective, a greater understanding of how immigration actually affects the United States. And while, like me, I thought having so many immigrants in the United States, that we were possibly losing jobs, that Americans were losing jobs to immigrants, and that it wasn't fair. And especially working in a school, I see that it costs a lot more to teach immigrant children than American children, because the curriculum is a lot more expensive. And while I saw that, I naturally just started forming this opinion of immigration not being a very positive thing in the United States. But as I was able to look outside of what I just saw in my own opinion and my bias opinion, and actually looking at the data, numbers, being able to see exactly how our economy has benefited from immigration and how it has opened up so many jobs for Americans, and jobs to where they are able to be in management positions because, like the research has shown, immigrants are willing to work for lower wages when they initially come into the United States. And so that opens up higher positions to be available to natives. And just overall, what I have learned throughout my research on this topic is we have to truly look outside of ourselves and just what our opinions are, and truly look at the facts and form your opinion based on the facts, not just on what your perception is. Thank you for watching my video and listening to my PowerPoint.